All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all sorts of hot nonsense from a live studio audience in City Wing Tsun. Lots of gems, zero Dreison, and lots of watching animals drink wine and snort some coke. Let's get to it.
And every day, I practice martial arts.
Yo, Dre, how you doing, man?
Yo, why are you so close? See?
I don't know. It's weird. I'm not used to this, all right? This is not the... Put your hands up in a fence, all right? Back off. I don't want any trouble.
Hey.
Take it easy,
okay.
All right? So, we're doing a special episode of KFG today.
Who knew?
We are recording live. Well, we technically always record them live. We just don't play them live, right?
And we never have an audience.
And we never have editing. It's always exactly what you see, all right?
True.
So why do we credit Andrew with anything then?
Well, he basically just puts the opener and
Andrew's
then that's
here,
the end of it here,
waiting
right?
to edit
He never
this
needs
right
to edit
after.
like all of your outtakes or your excessive F-bombs or anything like that.
Wait, there's no intro.
There's
We
no
didn't
intro.
do an intro.
There'll be an intro.
There'll be an intro.
All right,
we'll do it at
peeps.
the end. We'll do it.
Okay.
We'll do it at the end.
All right.
That's how we normally do it. Did you
You're
forget
right,
already?
You're right.
So
All
what exactly does
Unbelievable.
Andrew do then?
You know what? I'm not sure.
We don't know what you do either.
I also wasn't sure what you did for the
but
longest
actually,
time.
Until I
look at all these
wasn't around.
wires.
Yeah.
If you can see all these wires,
We need to get. He still
Now we
managed to
know.
not have a camera on him. All right, so
Juicy score.
we're gonna do the setup a little bit differently today because this week I'm having my intensive training camp.
Where do
the
we look on
ITC.
the camera?
So we have. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
We're going to have
I see it.
our audience here ask us questions. So rather than taking them from YouTube, which means we're gonna have to adjust the intro.
I
for
have
that.
like 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, 4. Okay, so we have a couple from YouTube, and then we're gonna have a bunch of questions here from our audience. So Dre,
Yes.
let's get to it.
Let's get to it. All right, who's up first with a question?
Oh,
Who
we're gonna have
has a
someone from
question
the
right
audience.
now?
We are going straight in.
Come on. And Andrew, you're gonna have to
All right,
edit.
go ahead,
You're
go
gonna
ahead.
edit that.
You're
like,
gonna have to edit all this dead air
Yeah.
in between, all right?
dead air.
Okay. Yeah, and
Get
you're gonna
it
have to
outta
fix that
here.
ponytail in post. All right.
Barry
Left
Gibb in
it.
the house.
All right, Joe. Joe from Connecticut.
Pleasure to be up here. So I had a question about, I kind of see like some, you see like the fighting Irish, and you see them when their hands are kind of looking like in a Wing Chun position.
Aha, yes.
Is there any sort of rhyme or reason to that?
That's a
or
very
history
good
of it?
question. So,
I think I know the answer to
well,
this.
then why don't you give the answer? I can leave.
No.
right.
Don't leave. Don't leave. No, I remember you telling us that
You remember something I
way
said?
back in the day, boxing looked like this
Looked a little bit more like that, yes.
because
Yes.
they didn't have gloves. They had like
Or they had small
barehanded or
gloves,
they had
yes.
small
Right,
gloves.
right.
So they're creating distance in a way that if they had big gloves, their hands are here, they're able to protect themselves with their gloves. But back then, they had it like, no, man, I ain't trying to get hit, so I'm going to keep you away so you can't hit me. Something like that.
I'd just like
That's
to say,
pretty much the answer right there. What do you need me for? I'm out of here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, I'm learning.
After hours and hours of sitting next to you, finally something has
sunk
seeped
in.
into
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
right?
it happens, man.
Yeah.
No. You see, he's not even hiding it now. He's gunning for your job.
No.
This is
It's been the
happening.
rumor
That's
for the
not,
longest
that's
time.
not true.
all
That's
right?
not true.
Well,
There's
because
no truth to that
no,
statement.
it is kind of true because a few weeks ago, I was
What
at
happened?
Angela Mao's restaurant,
Oh,
and I
no.
saw my boys, all right? Hector, Charles,
all of 'em, yeah.
Bobby Samuels. And you know what they asked me?
No.
Where's Dre?
No, that's not what happened.
They didn't care that
That's
I
not
was
what
there.
happened.
It was
No,
like,
no.
where's Dre? They want to meet you. You're the exciting one.
That's
I think
not-
you're.
that's not what
I
happened.
think so, right?
No, that's not.
And you
You made
literally
that
just
up.
answered the first
You
question.
made that up to
I'm-
make me smile.
No, I'm leaving. All right. So yeah, I mean,
Is
yeah,
that-
you are
does that make
you are
sense?
pretty much correct. I mean,
Okay.
in the early days of fist fighting, you think, okay, especially look, they had not seen boxing, kickboxing. There's no movies, no TV, no nothing. So they're basically figuring out how to fist fight kind of on the job. So if you don't know, if you've never seen martial arts or you don't have all these formalized techniques and books and things that you can draw from, if someone is trying to hit you in the face, it's a normal instinct to kind of keep your hands away from you and to try to hit people and keep them at bay like this. So it's understandable that the early attempts at boxing, especially when they didn't have gloves, would look more like this. Your head is the target, so you pull the target away and you keep your hands in front of you and you try to basically kind of long box your partner, right?
Okay.
Over time, as the boxing gloves got bigger and techniques got more refined, you can now use the boxing gloves to basically shield yourself from punches, which you can't necessarily do if you're fighting bare-fisted, right? Because you don't have these bigger gloves in front of you to protect you. So that definitely changed the style a little bit, as did the rules and all that stuff.
Kimbo Slice. Bare knuckle. He
Yeah,
didn't know about this.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, most people, when they learn boxing now, they learn how to box like this. So even if you do bare knuckle boxing, you probably learn how to box like this, so you're naturally going to box that way there.
Yeah.
But no one would ever tell Kimbo Slice he didn't know how to box.
Right.
So
Right,
yeah.
no.
So what else we got?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Among all your years of training at the castle, beside all the people you've been training with, do you keep in touch with some of them or train with some of them?
Absolutely not.
Is there a reason why you can share?
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of contact with a lot of the people that I trained with at the castle, because some of them decided not to become full-time Wing Chun instructors. They learned Wing Chun at the castle at the same time I was there, and maybe they went on to, I don't know, go on to other careers or something like that. A few of them did go on to teach Wing Chun, and I still do have contact with them, have seen them in the
There's
time
one
since.
guy that's here, actually, from what I understand.
Yeah, no, so here at the ITC,
Yeah.
we have an old friend of mine. His name is Christian. He's from Austria.
Where is he right now? He's not even.
Who knows where he is? He's probably, I don't know, he's
Where
scaring
would he-
some small children outside or something like
Because
that.
he looks like Shrek.
As he looks like Shrek.
And he loves kangaroos.
Yes. So, but he wasn't like a full-time castle student. So I met him at that time. So obviously I have contact with him. Some of the instructors that I learned from at the time, I still have contact with. Obviously,
Ozan.
Ison was not from the castle. I met him many, many years later. So you don't know anything about me. You never pay attention to me. All right?
I thought Ozan was from the castle.
We have done 70-something podcasts together. You have hours of time next to me in the car.
Yeah,
you
true.
lived with me for a while. I've poured all my stories into you,
true.
and you know nothing about me.
I
see,
I
you
know
I
come-
little.
feel
I still
you don't
know
pay
little.
attention to me.
You come out of the gates too fast, Dre.
Yes.
Seriously, you came out of the gates too fast. You peaked.
I
in the
could have
first fight.
sworn
It's all down-
Ozan
it's all downhill
was
from
a
here.
castle guy.
No. I met him
Mandela effect.
many, many years later, maybe 2008, 2009.
This is Ozan right
The
now.
logo in the background, which you cannot fully see
You can't see
in
it,
the
but
video anyway. All right.
that's his thing.
So what else we got? Who's next?
Chris Beardy Lee.
Beardy. Beardy.
Ooh!
He's not the Beardy, is he?
He's not.
All right.
Definitely not.
No.
So
His
congratulations.
nipples, you can't-
Congratulations on 20 years, City
Thank you.
WT.
Hey.
So at the end of the week,
Congratulations on not going out of business, from being too stupid and stubborn to get
Yes.
another career.
Oh, true.
so at the end of the week, you're having this big banquet.
Yes.
If you could invite 5 people and they had to show up, who would they be?
Living or dead?
Living.
No, living. Okay.
They have to be living. And Dre gets one.
Okay.
So who would it be?
You get to answer one. All right. So I can invite 5 people, anyone I want, living.
And I get to invite one person.
You get one.
yeah. but
They
your
have to
person
show up.
has to
though.
be
You go
dead.
first.
All right. Oh, thanks.
My
All
person
right.
has to be dead?
No, I'm just kidding.
What kind of stipulation?
Okay. So 5 people I would invite to the banquet.
4.
No, I get 5. You get 1. All right.
Oh, I thought it was
how that
4
works.
plus 1. Okay,
All right.
okay.
So let me see here. Well, it would have to be someone who's also interesting for the other guests who are coming there. So it couldn't just be someone that I thought was exciting. It would have to be someone that you all thought was exciting, right? So
True.
I think to get a couple martial arts actors would probably be cool, right? I would love to get Angela.
Rothrock.
I would also, Cynthia Rothrock for sure. She's amazing.
Awesome.
The Rock.
And if I had enough time, I probably could have invited her. Cynthia Rothrock for sure. I would love to get my good friend Angela Mao to come, but it's always kind of difficult to. She's on vacation right now, so she's got no desire. And she also thinks. I mean, Angela Mao was in,
She was Bruce Lee's
Bruce Lee's
sister
sister in Enter the
in
Dragon.
Enter
She
the
was also one of the first. She's like the second female headliner in martial art movies after Cheng Pei Pei. I mean,
Hapkido.
she was known as the female Bruce Lee.
Yeah, true.
But she gave up that stuff so long ago. I think she thinks, like all these people who go to a restaurant because she was like in a Bruce Lee
Yeah,
movie. I think she thinks
yeah.
we're all a bunch of nerds, right? I think she's
Because
kind of
you
like
are.
kind of leave me alone. Like, we all
Right.
go there and we ask her
Yeah.
to sign stuff, and I think she's kind of like, I think she's over it.
Yeah,
But
no.
Cynthia for sure, Angela for sure, maybe even someone crazy like Scott Atkins.
Wow.
All right, that'd be pretty dope.
Yes, and I'd have another English person with me.
Okay, scratch that idea, okay? All right, forget Scott Atkins.
Damn it.
All right? No, you know who'd be totally dope to have? Bolo, yeah. Ooh. All right, Bolo from Enter the Dragon.
Get to
Wow.
see him.
Yeah. Bolo would be totally badass.
Okay.
That's right, yeah, we couldn't find him in Hong Kong. We tried. I would like to get Jean-Claude Van Damme over. All right, to the banquet, because
JCVD.
I feel you
Doing
and I,
splits.
you and I have unsettled
We
business
do have
with
unsettled
JCVD, all right,
business.
okay?
Yeah,
Because
we
you know,
would have to put him in the hot seat.
we did run into him in Hong Kong, and he famously blew us off. Famously, because I repost the video every month to remind people that Jean-Claude Van Damme blew us off in Hong Kong. All right,
Night
so
to
he
remember.
needs to come to my banquet to redeem himself.
Yeah.
You know who else needs to redeem himself? Donnie Yen.
Oh.
Donnie, I waited for 4 hours to meet Lang Lang for you to
Where's the
film a
box?
video. I had to shake Harvey Weinstein's hands.
Who knows where the box is?
4 hours when I could have been doing Kung Fu Genius shit. You were supposed to make a little video saying, hey, when you're in New York, he's training at City Wing Tsun because I'm Donnie Yen and I play
Oh,
IP Man.
Yeah.
And I got a box with your signature.
What kind
a
of
box
box?
for a Yip Man mug.
What kind
and
of
the
box?
mug is not even in the box.
Is this the box?
Here it is. Look. There's your signature. Look, for Yip Man 3. There's not even the mug in here, okay? I waited for 4 hours.
There was never a mug in there.
I shook Harvey frickin' Weinstein's hands. And all I got was this lousy box. You owe me for the 25th anniversary of City Wing Tsun. You better be there.
Better be there.
All right? Okay, yours now. You need one.
Ooh.
No, certainly don't edit that. All right? You leave that in, Andrew. All right? Donnie Yen, you're
100%.
Harvey frickin' Weinstein. All right?
Ew.
Yeah. You used to be friends with him. We saw the photos. All right, what's next?
Let's see. I already invited her. My lady.
Oh, come on.
Oh, wait. It
Yeah,
has
I'm
to be
outta here. Forget it.
Kung Fu.
Yeah, Kung Fu,
Oh,
all right?
okay. All right. Well, my lady denied me, but nah, she'll be there. She'll be there. I'm thinking
Knucklehead.
Chan Wai Man.
Ooh, Chan Wai Man. That would be totally
Guest of
badass.
honor.
Yeah, that would be totally badass. I would be super nervous
I'll
though.
spar with him.
No, you wouldn't. He would shoot you. He would shoot you in the foot. All right? He would take a gun and shoot you right in the foot. No, man, that would be crazy. No, you know what? No, we can't have Chen Wai Man come to this one because first of all, I think the 20th anniversary is not going to be quite as big because like post-COVID, it's not the same crowd we had like say for the
25th.
The 15th anniversary is huge. I wanted the 20th to be huge, but I think it's going to be a little bit smaller, which is fine. We'll keep it intimate. The 25th anniversary, I want to make it like a really, really big thing because then I'm going to retire from teaching.
No.
All right,
No.
No,
He
the
has
25th
been-
one, then I'm going to
no,
retire
no,
from
no,
teaching.
no,
All right. So we're gonna make the 25th anniversary one really big. All right. But I would be super nervous if Chan Wai Man was at the anniversary.
I know.
Because dude's a gangster. I mean, no, like he's like really a gangster.
What?
Yes. All right. No, if he was at what table am I? I'm not putting him at the table with you. All right.
That would be the best table for him.
No, I would have to put him like next to me, and I would have to like shield him from like any of my weird students like you. Don't say anything to piss off Chan Wai Man. Don't say anything to piss off Chan Wai Man.
No.
Can I have a couple of honourable mentions here?
Yes.
Can we have maybe Ashida Kim and Sho Kazuki?
Ooh, hey, wait a minute. You cannot put Ashida Kim and Sho Kasugi in the same sentence, okay?
Okay, so
Ashida Kim.
It's not the same
No.
stratosphere.
No.
It's not even.
Sho Kasugi, a legitimate Japanese martial artist who became famous for playing ninjas in the 80s. Ashida Kim, a fraudulent white guy with a half Japanese, half Korean name who doesn't know any martial arts, who pretends to be a ninja.
no, you see, because this goes on with my other pair, which would be Don the Dragon Wilson and Frank Dukes.
Oh, you mean put a real one and a fake one?
Yeah.
So can you imagine Sho Kasugi sitting across from Ashita Kim and just staring daggers at him like this. All right? And then you would have Frank Dukes versus sitting across, because they're all round tables, so you would have to put them right across from each other, right? So you have Don the Dragon Wilson sitting here, and then Frank Dukes sitting across. Oh, that'd be crazy. That would be like
table.
That would be the table. There would be fights going on that table, like an IP Man 2.
Yeah, that'd be a dope table to sit at.
No, it would be a dope table to sit next to watch.
You know what's crazy?
What?
Justin Say
Has a question.
fan. Sho Kosugi would be fun to bring on and let him talk about the ninja movie craze.
I totally agree with that. But the problem is, you see my team right here, all right? This is like my only chance to get any kind of celebrities on this podcast. You think anyone's gonna listen to this knucklehead, all right? No, people always ask, like, yo, one dude keeps asking in the comments, why don't you get Stallone on the podcast?
Sylvester Stallone.
And I'm like, Frank Stallone, his brother? Maybe, all right?
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone, not so sure, all right? But I don't know, maybe people see us on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they ignore the fact we only have like 6,000 subscribers, all right?
They think
we
we're
only
like
get a few thousand
out there
hits.
we're
out there, so people are watching
like
us.
Pitbull.
Yeah, worldwide. Yo, you're Mr. Countywide. You're the budget people, all right? It's like, I would love to get Sho Kosugi on, but here's the thing. So everyone who listens to the Kung Fu Genius podcast, if you want me to get these people on the podcast, you get them on, you convince them to come on my podcast. Sho Kosugi would be tough. I think I would really fangirl if I had Sho Kosugi on the podcast.
We would all fangirl, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's pretty dope.
Topher would take a plane up here, like, oh, Sho Kosugi's up. I'm going to fly up for some nondescript reason. And turn up to the school.
Yeah, I would love that.
What was the girl from Ninja 3 Domination?
Lucinda Dickey.
She'll be dope on the show.
She would be. She was known mainly for Breakin'
2
and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. Woo. And then she started Ninja 3 The Domination, which combined exorcism and ninjutsu.
Which one was JCVD in? Breakin' 1 or Breakin' 2?
I think it was Breakin' 2. I think it was Breakin' 2 because they were on Venice Beach at the beginning.
We can ask her.
And he was there with his boy.
Yeah.
So you know that Van Damme is like in the background. That was like his first movie, right?
Yeah.
And you see him dancing. The guy he's dancing with is his boy. You know who that guy is?
Bay Logan?
No, that guy he's dancing with is the guy who plays Tong Po in Kickboxer. Because they were boys. Yeah. See?
Wow. How do you know all that?
I don't know. I got brain for useless information. All right. What else we got?
Who else? Who's up?
Hey Kung Fu Genius listeners, are you a fan of Wing Chun Kung Fu? Well, if you listen to me, I assume you are. I got great news for KFG fans. Right now, you can get an all-access 1-month free trial subscription to Wing Chun Illustrated magazine. Yes, I said free. Go to WCINewsstand.com and register in the upper right-hand corner. Fill out your email and password and use the code KFG Trial to get your free trial to all the issues from 2011 to the current issue. That's right, all the issues, even the one with this cool guy on the cover. That's me for those of you listening to us on audio. My Kung Fu Genius column is also in all the new issues as if you needed another reason to get this awesome magazine. Go get your free trial subscription today. For all that information, check out the description below. And now back to me. Who's this guy?
Who is this guy?
I got one stupid question and one less stupid question.
Okay.
All right, so according to legend, Ng Moy created Wing Chun when she observed a crane.
That's Ng Moy right there.
Yeah, and she
that's
observed.
Jim
No,
Wing
that's
Chun.
Yim Wing Chun.
My bad.
That's why I need 5 more years before I can retire. We need to straight up. Who's that on the wall right there? All right. Is that Moy? Is that Moy or is that Yim Wing Chun? Well, we know it's Yim Wing Chun because that's who's supposed to be in the painting. But how do we know that that's not Moy? Because Moy was a Buddhist and she would have had a shaved head. All right. That's how you know that that's not Moy. All right. That's why I need 5 more years before I can retire. All right. Okay, go ahead.
So Ng Moy observed a crane fighting a snake. Do you know the exact species of crane and snake? And can you?
The exact species of crane and snake. That's a
Cobra.
really good. No, I don't think it was a cobra because I think the
Cobra
cobra
Kai
would have
snake.
beat the shit out of that crane. All right, because according to legend, Ng Moy witnesses a fight between, because many kung fu styles have this in their origins, right? Some kung fu master was sitting around and watched some animals fighting and went like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then got that idea and then created a fighting style. So supposedly Ng Moy saw a crane fight a snake, all right? And supposedly while the snake is like menacing, the crane stayed square to the snake.
Okay.
And then when the snake came close, shoom, it violently pecked it, which is basically the idea of kind of staying squared and explosively attacking forward. And based on that, created an entire style of kung fu with all sorts of intricacies and
That
details
how
and stuff like that.
Japanese created sumo wrestling, watching gorillas.
What?
I feel very disappointed.
How?
Huh? That's exactly
That's
what happened.
valid. That's exactly what happened.
No, 10 more years. So no, I'm never retiring. but see, even in monkey kung fu, okay?
Oh, no.
So is there such thing? Who said that?
Oh!
Is there a such thing as monkey kung fu? Have you not seen any kung fu movies? What? Of course there's monkey kung fu, all right? Anyway.
We had a guy at your 15th.
That's right. Who performed monkey kung fu, right?
Yeah, that was
so
fire.
Monkey kung fu has like a bunch of different forms. And supposedly, one of the masters of monkey kung fu, for whatever reason, got imprisoned and was in jail. And from his jail cell, he was watching a bunch of monkeys. It's always convenient, right? He's sitting there in jail looking out, and he sees some monkey, all right? And then there was a bottle of wine that was out there, or one of those jars, or whatever.
From the movie.
A caddy of wine, right? And the monkey drank it.
Yeah.
And then became drunk. And from that, he created the drunken monkey style. I shit thee not. This is actually the history
lore.
that's written
This
in the
is
books.
lore.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
it's
that's
100%
great.
happened. You know
That's
that happened,
great.
right? That's right, yes. Something like that. All right.
Watching some animal doing cocaine. A dragon. Sniffing cocaine. Wow.
Well, that escalated.
This is getting
great.
This is getting an MA rating. All right. All right. What else you guys got?
Who's next? Andrew.
Oh, you got your.
It's got-
wait,
We got a two-parter.
Was that the smart question or the dumb one?
Okay, so when it comes to like the over mystification of kung fu and
Yes.
like the taking it away further from like practical fighting application, who do you think is more responsible for that? Like traditional Chinese culture and people, or like Westerners?
Oh yes.
Damn, he got good questions. That guy.
That was a good question, right?
This guy.
Yeah, I wish I knew
He's
who
always
he
trying to
was.
stump you. I noticed.
Yeah, it's weird,
It's
right?
his thing.
Maybe he's Dreison.
Yeah, I think because we never know who's in the.
No, I'm
comments
pretty
and-
sure we do know. Actually,
No, I
I'm
No,
pretty
I
sure we
know.
do know who
I
Dreison
think
is.
it's him. He's the editor.
No,
he
I get
edits
it.
them in.
But he edits it after we record it.
All right.
So how does that work? He doesn't even have a good cover story.
I can't.
All right, but
I
it's hot
can't.
nonsense.
I can't figure out how he does
Okay.
it.
So that's a good question. So obviously, Chinese martial arts started off as a very practical endeavor, mainly battlefield martial arts for protecting China's vast borders against countries constantly trying to invade. So you have lots of horseback weaponry, you have battlefield fighting, all this kind of stuff. And they have a very long history of these kind of martial arts developing in China. And then in the more recent centuries, as Chinese martial arts became martial arts in general became a slightly outdated mode of warfare, because now you have guns and you have other more powerful weapons, that the hand-to-hand combat aspect is not necessarily as important as it was a very long time ago. Chinese martial arts tended to become a little bit more for alternate aspects, like improving your health or movement flexibility, or improving your character, all this kind of stuff, and slowly moved away from being like the practical fighting art that it used to be. With some exceptions, some martial arts retain that idea of still training it for practical fighting, but many of them became huge collections of forms and movements and lots of flowery stuff. And I guess the question is, well, who's to blame for that? And I think that was a slow degradation over time. Even in the late Qing dynasty, there were already problems with Chinese martial arts. Chinese martial arts, there was something that happened that caused a lot of Chinese people to lose confidence in martial arts, and unfortunately, it was undeserved, and it was called the Boxer Rebellion. And essentially, the Boxer Rebellion was something that was led by a bunch of cultists called the Yiwo Tun. Yiwo Tun were like a really bizarre cult that believed that they could practice internal qigong and make themselves impervious to bullets.
Oh, wow.
And so essentially through this kind of cultivation of the internal qi, they could absorb Western bullets.
Around
and then,
what time
And
was
then
this?
is in the late 1800s.
Okay.
Although I could be wrong, it's been a while since I looked at my notes on this. They said the late 1800s. And so a bunch of weird, wacky cultists with a overzealous belief in their ability to stop bullets decided to try to stop bullets, all right, from foreign invading powers, all right?
Wow.
And you can only imagine what the outcome was, okay? Of course they won because they could stop, no, you know what happened, all right? And so, unfortunately, this gave Chinese martial arts, even in the late Qing dynasty, a very bad reputation because although the Yiwo Tun were a really bizarre cult, although a lot of Chinese Kung Fu masters at that time did believe in certain things, like if they practice their chi in a certain way, they would be impervious to blades and things like that. And then this group kind of took it to the next level. And they did not represent the views of, let's say, the more mainstream Chinese martial artists, even at that time. It essentially was a big black eye for Chinese martial arts on the whole, right? Damn. And by the time we get into post-Qing dynasty, 1912, into the early Republican era, martial arts were essentially something that was just practiced by people who could afford to do martial arts as a hobby. So it was no longer something that was being practiced, let's say, for the most part, although there's certainly exceptions, by people who are fighters. It was a rich father who wanted his son to be strong and to have a strong body and be morally upright and all this kind of stuff. So they would hire a sifu to teach the son some martial arts, learn how to use some weapons, and it was called san to make your body strong.
Okay.
And it wasn't necessarily because the rich father didn't want his son to go out and fight other people. It was learning martial arts for all of these other benefits. And so martial arts kind of became this thing. It became a hobby to improve your health, to improve your lifestyle, to improve all these other things. And the emphasis on fighting became less and less over time, with some rare exceptions. Certain styles and certain sifu still kept it real. But for the most part, it essentially was kind of a slow devolving of Chinese martial arts into kind of a fun little hobby that was something between dancing and kicking and punching, right? And then this is a very different development from, say, Japanese martial arts or other martial arts. So I don't know. I guess the Chinese are at fault. Okay.
Mr. Dre, let's
Yes.
take a question
Fan?
from YouTube. Give the audience a bit of a rest.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're trying to come up with some more questions.
All right.
Unless Jose.
Please no Dreison questions.
All right.
Jose just wants to be in the camera shot and look handsome.
Hopefully I'm not on the camera right when Dre
Oh, you are.
We'll see. Edit him in to be in the camera shot the whole time.
All right. We got Mike Bowman.
All right.
Mike Bowman says, "Thank you, gents, for another great episode. Number 73.
Oh, I totally remember episode
Yeah.
73.
Question. It has been alluded to several times that the KFG has an extensive library.
Not true. Rumors.
If for some crazy Dreison-esque hypothetical reason a person could only have one Wing Chun book, what would you recommend?
Okay.
If this hypothetical extended to martial arts books in general, would your quintessential book pick be something outside of specifically Wing Chun? Thanks.
Only one Wing Chun book. It would be my new wooden dummy book available at citywt.com. All right? Over 300 pages of wooden dummy awesomeness.
That's just thicker than a Snicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very proud of
$44.95
that
at the Pro
book.
Shop.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to assume that it's not one of my books that's available at citywt.com. Make sure Andrew, you put that in the bottom there when I'm saying this. Right? One of my books that's not available at citywt.com at the shop, because all of them are fantastic. All right. By the way, Wing Chun Illustrated just reviewed my wooden dummy book, and they said that my explanation was flawless. So anyway, so get my wooden dummy book. Available now, no coupon code. All right, so, outside of my books, what is my favorite Wing Chun book? Wow, that's really difficult because I have many, many Wing Chun books and they all specialize on something different. So some books I like better because they explain certain aspects of the history more thoroughly than others. Others are better with explaining techniques or, let's say, the concepts. I think, wow, that's really difficult because that kind of depends on my mood. My favorite Wing Chun book might be Sifu Leungting's Wing Chun Kun because it's just kind of broad. It's a good introduction to Wing Chun. But I also like Sifu David Peterson's collection of essays. I think that's also a really, really good book. So I would probably recommend both of those. Wow. And then a non-Wing Chun martial arts book, I think, probably Jack Dempsey's Championship Fighting, which was published in 1952 or 1954. It was one of Bruce Lee's favorite books. Jack Dempsey is a former heavyweight boxing champion back in the days when you were a heavyweight at 185 pounds. And it had no cap. It was 185 pounds and up. So if you weighed 185 pounds, you were a heavyweight, and you very well could have to fight someone who was 230, 240 pounds, all right? So, and Jack Dempsey was on the smaller end he was like on the 185, 190 pound end of that spectrum. And Jack Dempsey's specialty was laying dudes out, all right? He had an extremely powerful punch. And the secret of his punch was, according to him, was twofold. One, that he would get his body weight into every one of the punches. And two, he used the original power line, which was a vertical fist, landing with the bottom three knuckles, aiming with the ring finger knuckle, which, surprise, surprise, sounds very similar to what we do in Wing Chun. I like Jack Dempsey's book because, one, it's not just because, some of the punching ideas that he shows are similar to what we do in Wing Chun, but also because he shows boxing as a self-defense art, not just as a ring art. And when you see some of the defensive movements he does, you see there's deflecting punches on the way in, and there's a lot of stuff that's really practical. And I think it's an extremely practical and interesting book. I also find it funny because it's definitely of its time. If you imagine like men in the 1950s, all right, in general, you would imagine them like a little hardier than, let's say, a lot of men nowadays, like kind of like, stronger like people, men who can do pull-ups and push-ups and, like kind of the, whether it was true or not, what people think of like kind of strong guys or whatever, right? And Jack Dempsey, who was already who was a little bit older in 1954, thought all the men of that time were a bunch of pansies, all right? And he writes about it in his book. And he talks about how boxers at that time in the 50s did not know about the correct power line, and many of them who were coaching had never really fought themselves.
Wasn't Marciano one of those guys in the 50s?
Yes, but his assessment was that he called them fancy Dans, all right? That had like some fancy footwork, but no technique. And so you have to imagine,
Rocky Marciano.
Yeah, in the early 50s, he's complaining. I mean, when you think of dudes from the 50s, you think of them like eating metal shavings for breakfast, right? Yeah. And he's just like, they're a bunch of pansies, right? Like, it was kind of funny.
Mike Tyson's one of his favorite boxers was
yeah,
Jack
absolutely.
Dempsey.
Yeah, Mike Tyson was a huge Dempsey fan, and Bruce Lee was also a fan and had that book as well. And as I mentioned on a number of episodes ago, that Bruce Lee's inch punch, the way he did it, is actually influenced by Jack Dempsey's falling step, slightly more so than it is from his original Wing Chun training. Okay. So, and when you see Jack Dempsey's falling step, and then if you were to combine Jack Dempsey's forward surge falling step with the side-on position and the use of the wrist, which Dempsey did not emphasize the use of the wrist. That's definitely a Wing Chun thing. You turn that into a floating punch with using the falling step. That was essentially Bruce Lee's inch punch. It was a hybrid of the Wing Chun long bridge power and the drop step from Jack Dempsey's techniques there. So, what else we got?
Go back to Andrew's question.
Who's Andrew?
I think he edits the editor. When
He's here? Some more animal questions?
Yeah, more animal questions.
Nice.
When Kung Fu was actually like used for like military, would the top person still be called a Sifu if that's like Sifu is like a blue collar term, or would they have a different title?
So I don't know about that. Like, especially if you go into the very old dynasties, like Tang Dynasty and stuff like that, whether the teacher was called a Sifu. Also, I don't even know if martial arts are taught in a military setup where you have like kind of a drill sergeant or a coach training an entire militia. I don't even know if they called that person Sifu, because Sifu normally implies a very personal relationship. Normally a Sifu is not necessarily someone who teaches hundreds and hundreds of people, because the formal term, the Chinese character for Sifu is 2 characters. Chinese is monosyllabic, so every syllable is another word, every syllable is another Chinese character. So Sifu is 2 Chinese characters, right? The first character, Si, means teacher. The second character, Fu, there's 2 different ones that are used. You either use one that means an expert, all right? And that's when the title is used as a general title for someone who's an expert. But when you are adopted into a school to learn martial arts, the second character, they use Fu, which means father. So it means something more like mentor. And it's a personal thing. So
and those are both on the same tone.
Yeah, actually, to make things a bit confusing, both the Sifu as a title for expert and the one like paternal teacher or mentor, they're pronounced identically. All right, so you would have to see it written, and then you see if it's used as an expert. You go, okay, this is just Sifu as a title, and the other one is Sifu as like, this is your personal mentor. And that's also why in general, if someone is a Sifu, but they're not your Sifu, you normally address them as Sifu so-and-so. So you would call them Sifu plus their name. Or in a Chinese context, the surname comes first and then the title. So you say, if their surname was Leung or Wong, you would say Wong Sifu, because now you're basically in English calling that person Sifu Wong, and you're using Sifu as a title of respect, like a doctor or Mr. or professor. So you would say Wong Sifu, but if that person was your personal teacher and they were surnamed Wong, you wouldn't call them Wong Sifu, all right? Make sure they do push-ups, all right? Okay? You would just call them Sifu, but the Chinese, if you had subtitles, and there's your personal teacher, you just say Sifu, it would be the paternal teacher one. But if you said Wong Sifu, come over here, the subtitles would be Wong expert, that version, right? And because that implies a very close personal connection, I don't believe, but I could be totally wrong. I mean, I'm not an expert in this at all. You would probably better talk to someone who's a historian, like in Chinese history, whether they would use the term Sifu to describe someone who trained like a militia or trained like a huge group. I don't think so. I think I think they might have used a different term. Yeah.
Hey, one more question?
One more question.
All right. So do you have any fun stories from the Hong Kong period when you're training with Long Ting?
Well, I didn't really have a Hong Kong period per se. I went to Hong Kong regularly when I opened my school. And
so from around that time, do you have
there wasn't like one time I was there. I mean, at this point, 2022, I have traveled to Hong Kong, I think 27 times. All right?
Wow.
So, but I didn't have a Hong Kong period, but I've been to Hong Kong 27 times. All right. So, you mean from the time when I was training over there?
Well, yeah, when you were training with Lang Ting at that time.
Do I have any stories that I can tell on this podcast? Is what you're saying? You're gonna have to edit some dead air out of this episode.
There's not that much dead air.
Give me a moment. No, you're definitely gonna have to edit some dead. I have to think about it. Because the problem is I have to make a decision between what's really a funny story and what can I tell. All right. Okay. So I will. I'll tell a story. I already told it. I think it was on episode 2. Episode 2 of KFG, which is the Fight Quest episode. I believe that's episode 2. Some KFG nerds going, actually, it was episode 4.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, like as if. It always reminds me, like, because sometimes, like, there's some fans who listen to this stuff and they're like, in episode 54, when you was like, I don't know what was on episode 54, right? It reminds me, like, one time, like William Shatner, when he goes to those conventions and, like, you have those hardcore Star Trek geeks who come up to him and they ask him of, like, some obscure Klingon reference or whatever. And he's like, I don't know any of this stuff. What are you talking about, right?
We should just rename ITC KFG Con.
KFG con. That would be perfect. That would be absolutely perfect. I told the story. I think it was at episode 2 when I went to Hong Kong to shoot Fight Quest. Originally, I met the producer here, and it was kind of my idea to have the fight scenes, the final fight in that episode be on the rooftops in Hong Kong.
The producer of the Fight
Yeah,
Quest.
it's kind of like an homage, right? You know what's funny? On that episode, I made up a name. I said, I'm going to call him Charles, right? And he was such a slimy, like, such a dickhead producer. You know?
Everyone
You know, he's going to talk like this with his, like, okay, well, show me this kung fu thing you're doing. He reminded me of Thurston Howell from Gilligan's Island. Wow. And, you know, the joke is, when I did that episode, I'm like, I'm just going to make up a name. I'm just going to call him Charles, right? And then later I looked up at the IMDb, his freaking name was Charles. And I totally forgot that. I just made up a name, and I happened to like, Nicholas is Michael Charles, all right? You're going to show me this Wing Chun thing you do here? Can I have you guys spar for like 6 hours and we just film it?
Yeah.
Well, we can maybe edit something from that.
This guy's awesome.
I mean, the guy was such a dick, right? And then we you know, he had this, and he was like, okay, you're going to be in the episode, and then you can like fight with them at the end, right? And I get to Hong Kong, and the first day he's like, oh no, you can't be in the episode. And I'm like, I flew all the way over here, so I like, you know, like and then he's like, no, you're not Chinese.
Yeah.
Wow. And because the idea was like, you know, in Fight Quest, you went to different countries, and then it was like when you're in Japan, you learn karate from Japanese guys or whatever. Although someone told me, hey, dude, in the karate episode, there was totally a Filipino guy in there, right? And he was like, wasn't even Japanese, right? And they're like, well, at least he was Asian. All right?
So ask yourself that maybe in each one of the episodes you just picked a random Asian person.
Yeah, exactly, right? So anyway, suddenly I'm like, well, I go from like, I'm going to be in this episode to like, no, you're not supposed to be in it, right? And the guy was literally right here telling me about how it would be the episode, right? So I'm like, I wasn't like super disappointed about not being in the episode, but I was like who, like, did I literally talk to you in my school? Like, what is this, right? And
the nerve.
Sifu Leung Ting got so pissed off.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it in the podcast. And this is part of the reason why Jimmy, who was in it, thought Leung Ting was being a little bit arrogant because he was angry at the producer, but he was angry at the producer for this reason. I remember, like, he went out into the hallway, and like, I never saw Sifu Leung Ting so angry. Because the first day after we did the demo, they were like, oh no, you can't be in the demo because you're not Chinese. And then Sifu Leung Ting said, no, he's my student, and he goes in the demo. And then I did the demo there, and they're like, no, we're gonna cut out. I was like, no, you better not cut him out. And then that's why when you see the opening, I have only one move. That demo that I gave was pretty fucking awesome, all right? Because I had my student Mike Yan, who's one of my most senior students, who, by the way, is coming to the 20th anniversary banquet, all right? So Mike Yan came up with Sifu Nicole at the same time, but then he went off and became a famous Hollywood stuntman, Avengers Endgame, Hunger Games, like all that kind of, he's in all that stuff. Like his IMDb just keeps going like this. He's a big Hollywood stuntman, right? but he's decided to grace us with his presence. So you guys will have a chance to meet the famous, notorious Mike Yan on Saturday, right?
CJ Nicole calls him Siheng.
Yes,
And that blew my mind.
But the thing is that because Mike Yan, even at that time, he was already a stunt guy.
Yeah.
Mike Yan knew how to sell it, and he knew how to fall and all this kind of stuff. So we created a demo where like he just comes at me like a maniac. Like he's swinging at me and doing MMA stuff and all this, and I just pop, and like I would give him elbows and boom, and he would play it off, and it looked so violent. I remember when people, because the other Wing Chun demos were like, okay, they do some form, Tamkyu, some Chi Sao sparring, okay, break the Chinese roof tiles with the punch. But Mike Yan and I had this like bonkers ass demo, and it was on brick, like on a brick floors in Victoria Park on the Hong Kong Island side.
Can this be seen anywhere?
And somewhere. And this is why Topher sent me the 8 camera or whatever. I have tape somewhere because I had someone film it from the side. So I have this demonstration somewhere. And it also, in Sifu Leung Ting even demonstrated the knives versus long pole, and they cut all of that stuff out from the opening of Fight Quest. And so when I had my demo with Mike Yan, it was like crazy because of course, he's my student, so we can work really well together. But every time I would punch him, he could sell it and make it look really real. And then when I would throw him, he would do like Irish breakfalls. You know what an Irish breakfall is?
I do not.
It's the one where you flip forward and you land on your shoulders and on your feet, and it like looks like you broke your back when you land. But he's a stuntman, so you could sell it. It's like bomb and flip an Irish breakfall, and then boom, and he would roll and it would beat him and boom, and he was like going all over. It was crazy. People watched it, they're like, "Oh man, that was nuts!" And we had rehearsed it here, we rehearsed it there, and he just played it so well. And we were such a well-oiled machine at that time, right? I mean, it was like almost like an act at that point. And then the producer was like, we're not going to put that in there because you're not Chinese.
Wow.
All right? So I was like,
fail.
Okay, cool, right?
What a fail.
And then Sifu Langting got really pissed off, right? And then he's like, you can't be in the episode. And then when Charles left, Sigong goes, okay, Alex and Mike, you show up tomorrow at the gym, all right? Because basically the guy said we couldn't, because the next day they were going to shoot at the Langting gym, right? And then he told us we couldn't be there because we were not Asian, right? And Sigong was like, no, you show up. You're going to be there. You're going to be training. If he comes in, I don't care. You're going to be in it. So the next morning, I'm already anticipating there's going to be some problems today, right? So the camera crew comes in, and we're all there. It's like me and all my Chinese Kung Fu brothers are all training. And it's like, two of these things are not like the other. All right, okay. So all these Chinese guys, and then these two white guys in the back, right? Okay. And so we're training, and then Charles comes in. No, he's gonna have to go. Like he was like, what is he doing here? Right? Okay. He was so upset, right? So Sigong was like, nope, he's my student. He's gonna be in the episode. And then the producer's like. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit. And I'm like, at that point I'm like, Sigong, I can go. And he's like, no. And then he goes out into the hallway with Chun.
And he beats his ass.
No, he doesn't beat his ass. All right?
He beats Charles'
in
ass.
a Dreison hypothetical, maybe. All right? And then he gave this guy such an epic tongue lashing. It was crazy. He told him, he said, you are the most ignorant movie producer I ever worked with. He goes, do you know that Hong Kong was a British colony? Do you know how many foreigners live and work in Hong Kong? Do you know that foreigners were learning from me when Yip Man was still alive? Yeah. He goes, my students are not only Chinese. Here in Hong Kong, this is an international city. He goes, I have taught other types of Asians. I've taught all sorts of everyone, right? And so he was so pissed off. And he told this guy, and you cannot tell them to go because they are my students, right? And he's just and he wouldn't have it. And he stood there, and I just told Sigong, I'm like, it's okay. And that's when he made the concession to put the one clip of us in the opener. So that's why if you watch that episode of Fight Quest, which I do not recommend, because since they got so salty with Leung Ting, they made him look like a jerk in editing, all right? So it's that was their final revenge, right? And so, but you see at the very opening, I give Mike one chance out like this at the very end. And that was the only thing that they left in there. In this long demo where we did cheese out, we did he tried to tackle me and I flip him over. Some of the stuff we did today, face peel and stomp him on the ground. Like it was crazy. He tries to tackle me and then I do kind of an underhook and face peel, boom, and he's on the ground and I stomp him and he plays it off and it just looks so nice. All of it's gone. But somewhere I have the tape. It's probably in a box at my parents' house in Florida somewhere. And I'm going to have to go through all those tapes, and I have that. And what I also have is the unedited fight at the end of Fight Quest, all right? Because at the very end, Jimmy, the guy who learned from Leung Ting, had to fight, and then Doug, who learned from Kong Ji Kern, they had to fight. But
Kong Ji Kern is who?
He's the other Wing Chun guy, all right? And we literally did an 1.5-hour episode on this where I explained all that.
You can't expect them to remember that. It was the second episode.
Oh, sorry. It was the second episode. All right. That goldfish memory here, right?
A year and a half ago.
Yeah, something like that. And so because the producer was salty with Leung Ting and Jimmy was the guy who learned from us, they made Jimmy lose one of his fights. But when they had the fight on the rooftop, they had the fight on... should be 444 Nathan Road. And I'm on the rooftop on 442 Nathan Road, which was slightly higher, all right? And I was above them, and I filmed the whole thing. And you can see that Jimmy did not lose that fight. But then the ref had to put the other guy's hand up to make it seem like, oh, the Leungting guy lost the one fight. All right? And I can show you the whole thing when I find it. No such thing happened. It was all fake. Also, okay, it's no news that reality shows are fake. I think everyone knows that. But you don't realize how fake they are until you are on a reality show. All right. So first of all, this was Fight Quest. This wasn't something like Survivor, something really big, but it was totally scripted. Like I couldn't believe how scripted it was. When Jimmy and Doug were watching the Wing Chun demo, they were handed their lines as to how they were supposed to react. Like said, like, okay, the producer came and was like, all right, when that guy goes over there and kicks this guy here, I want you to say this. And it was just sitting there, and they're like telling them what to say. And this isn't even a famous reality show. The entire thing was scripted. When my Si-Hing Jong-soo did the roundhouse kick and kicked Jimmy off the boat, that whole thing was fake. The entire thing was scripted. All right, and so like nothing in that show was real. All right. All right. What do we got next?
Hey, Kung Fu Genius listeners, if you're a Wing Chun practitioner, especially from the WT or Leungting line, and want to get really personalized immersion training with me, you can now apply to do an immersion course with me here in NYC, or if you like the sun, in my Florida home near Orlando. These courses are for instructors or anyone who's serious about learning the art in detail and working hard. I teach in program blocks like Siunam Tao, Chamkyu, Buji, Wooden Dummy, and those include the Chi Sao theory, fighting applications, and training methods as well. If you're really serious about learning Wing Chun, check out the link in the description below to find out about applying for a spot. For those of you who are not quite ready to do full private immersion training, you can also apply for a spot at either our winter or summer intensive training camps. We have a few spots available for non-City Wing Chun students, so apply today. A link for those options are in the description below. And now back to me.
Well, since among all the KFG episodes I've been watching, you explained many times that Yip Man didn't choose to become a teacher, he had to.
Yes.
Just to sum up. And since you became a teacher at 20 years old, I wanted to know at such an early age, what motivates you to become a teacher?
Oh, it's a great question.
Was it part of the
plan,
part of the learning you had at the castle when you saw the teachers and you wanted, like, they somehow inspire you, or was it more something deeper inside of you?
That's a great question. No, I can't do anything else. All right, that's pretty much it. All right, if you have ever visited my house, or you've ever observed me doing stuff outside of Chinese martial arts or anything not Chinese martial arts related, you would realize how unbelievably incompetent I am in most aspects of my life. All right,
I don't believe that.
Pretty much outside of Kung Fu, all I know how to do is drive a car. All right, and as a father of two, I'm basically a glorified taxi driver. All right, no, seriously. Well, I've been doing martial arts since I was 8 years old. It's the only thing that ever caught my interest. You know, when I was in high school and we had to read whatever books in class, I had my book there, and behind it was a martial arts book. All right, so when I was supposed to read something else, I had a book about the history of Chinese martial arts. I had a Bruce Lee book. I had something else. It was the only thing in my life I ever gave a crap about. And so it seems like a very natural progression that I would eventually somehow find a way to do that professionally. Now, in martial arts, there are only 3 ways to earn money. All right, 1, as a professional fighter, and with that, that's only limited, right? You can only earn money as a professional fighter for a limited amount of time. 2, as an instructor, or 3, as a martial arts movie person. All right, so of the 3, the only what I consider sustainable one is to teach martial arts. So I suppose at some point I gave up my idea of being a movie star. All right.
Wow.
No, I'm only kidding. Actually, I didn't want to be a movie star. So there was one point in my life where I was at a crossroads. I had just broken up with a girl, which is usually how every story begins. Yeah, no, it was brutal. It was brutal. I was 19 years old, and she was 11 years older than me. All right. Ooh, and so so this was a very weird situation, right? I was dating a 31-year-old, right? It was a very big deal. And then we broke up, and then I was like, I want to do something. And I wasn't satisfied with working for BMW, and I had 2 main passions, martial arts and stunt driving. All right. When I was 16 years old, my dad sent me to BMW driving school, high performance driving school, and I learned at 16 how to spin cars out and high performance drive and braking, all this kind of stuff. So I was like kind of a maniac behind the wheel at 16.
Yeah.
But I was a professionally trained maniac at 16. So I either was going to do martial arts full time, or I was going to move to LA and be a stunt driver. This was like, these were the only two things that I wanted to do. I'm glad I went to do martial arts because now all car stunts are CGI'd. So that would have been like...
Would have phased you out.
Yeah.
Except in the Fast and Furious.
Yeah, all that's real.
No, that's all real.
All right, yes.
And they end up in space.
My brother told me.
No, but all jokes aside, martial arts is the only thing I ever cared about. And by the time I went to Germany to study Wing Chun full time, I had just quit my job at BMW. I never wanted to work for anyone again. And I kind of thought, maybe I can give martial arts a shot because it's the only thing that I enjoy doing. And since I enjoy it, I probably would have more motivation to do it. The business end of it is always difficult. You have to learn all the business stuff. But I have to say, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I still love it. So I'm very happy when I think back of my teenage self, like I decided to go do that instead of being a stupid meathead stunt driver. So it ended up working out for me because the hardest parts about teaching martial arts is the business stuff, and you got to learn that stuff, and that's fine, but it's still totally worth it. Because especially like a week like this when I do ITC, and I get all these people come to learn, and they train for 6 hours a day, which is already like a pretty major deal. To even find maniacs who want to do that is like a big deal. But what I do sometimes, especially when you guys are sparring or you guys are training on your own, is like sometimes I just kind of sit back and I just like look at it. And it's like, it's kind of weird because at some point I came to New York and I started teaching at a dance studio on 8th Avenue, and I had 2 people show up. And now it's like I have this school and people come from everywhere. And even, for me, I'm also really proud, not just when I see the students train, but I look at like my senior students, like Sifa Nicole and Barry and all these guys. And when I sit back and I watch them teach, and it's like, and they're doing such a good job, and they know what they're doing, and they're competent and they're skillful. And I'm like, that's the result of everything I did, and that makes it worthwhile. And that's why I'm retiring in 5 years.
And then when you look at me, you're like, oh.
Pretty much. So,
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's it. So I suppose, I'm not qualified to do anything else. Do we have a couple of questions?
When was the first time you taught? I think
First time I taught here in New York?
No, in general.
The first time I taught Wing Chun was in Berlin. All right, and it had to have been 2001, the first time I taught Wing Chun. I was on black shirts. I was a kind of a senior student, and one of my seeings invited me to go there and teach. And I have some photos of it. If you're Facebook friends with me, I have it like in a really old album. Back when people used to put shit in albums on Facebook, like 100 years ago, right? You used to like divide stuff up. Album, I'm gonna update them, and then no one gives a shit about that anymore, right? But if you go on my Facebook, my private Facebook page, there's some albums like from back in the day, and there's a photo of me like in a black shirt, all pimply faced and 70 pounds, teaching Wing Chun to an audience of people. That's kind of funny.
A few photos of him in techno clubs.
Actually, there's a photo of me in a techno club.
Yes.
And you will never find this. All right. There's a video of me giving a demonstration in Germany under a tech disco ball at a bowling alley. And you will never find this video.
What?
All right?
It's in one of those albums.
No, it's not. No, I destroyed that video a long time. It was on VHS. All right. Yes. You will never find. You will find Jimmy Hoffa before you find that. All right. Yeah. All right. What else we got? We have another one for you too. Time for one more. Awesome.
There he is.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Better not be a Dyson question.
No, this is different. This is a two-parter question because
Scrolling.
I first became a fan of this system and your teaching when I saw your Halcast videos.
Oh, okay.
At least 8 years ago.
Okay.
So I have a two-part question. Number one, how did you get the opportunity to be the guy who would demonstrate Wing Chun on Halcast?
Oh, to be the Halcast guy, yeah.
And two, what was that day like? Was it one day like all 50 clips?
Okay, all right. That's a great question. You know, what's interesting, a lot of people found me through that Halcast series. I look back at it and I just cringe. It's just like, oh God, all right? Someone give this boy hair products, all right? No.
It's great.
Yeah, you know what? It's not for the. I had just quit the Learning organization at that time. So, you know, since I was teaching, I taught under the Learning banner, and it was like, to a certain degree, we were kind of protected by Big Brother. I teach Learning Wing Chun. I'm part of this association, blah, 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 blah. And then I had my issues with the association, and in 2011, I quit. And I was kind of scared, but I knew that I couldn't keep going forward in that association because the politics of that, for many years, there were a lot of kind of organizational politics, which only affected me as an instructor and didn't affect the students. So I could like deal with that because I had to deal with like instructors and their weird egos and stuff like that. But then at some point, it really started to affect the quality of what I was able to deliver to the students. So I decided to quit the association and stand on my own. And that was kind of scary because, you know, when I was in the Learning Association, I was like, okay, I'm an instructor, but there's also like this grandmaster above me, and there's also all this kind of stuff, right? And then at some point, it's like, no, I'm going to be on my own because it's the right decision for me and the students. And then that also meant, oh, now they're all looking at me. All right, now I'm the guy who's in charge of it. And I didn't really want that attention. I just wanted to build my school in a way that I thought was more positive. But then this opportunity came along. Howcast contacted me because at that time they were in New York, and Howcast was a YouTube channel. I don't actually think they're around, although the videos are still up. I don't think they're making new series. And Howcast, basically, they would find an expert in a field, and they would like have that expert explain like on 70 different videos. So they would have like someone who was like the knitting genius or whatever, and like 70 videos show all some different ways of knitting, right? And they had like a kickboxing guy, and they had like, you know, arts and crafts, and they had like everything, cooking, they had everything under the sun. And they did a Wing Chun one. And the Wing Chun videos they wanted me to do were based on what people were Googling at that time for Wing Chun, what were like the top 70, I think it was 60, 70 short videos I did.
I think it was 53.
53. It could be. Yeah, I don't remember. So, something like that, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And they basically gave me this list, and it was like, what is Pak Sao? What is Bong Sao? What is this? What is that, right? And like, we want you to do videos on these topics. So I'm there. I had like my polo with my stupid name on it, right? I look like such a fucking idiot. And they came, and but the funny thing is, people tell me how much they liked it, and I'm just like, at that time, I didn't want to give my best stuff away because a lot of information in WT is very coveted, so I didn't want to like, you know, give away the kitchen sink. So I, at that time, and I was not nearly as good as I am now. I also wasn't as humble as I am now. I wasn't as good back then as I am now. I wasn't as I was pretty polished as an instructor, but I'm much better. I'm a much better version in every aspect than I was then. But even then, I still gave my C and D level material. All right, that was not my best. That was not my deepest explanation. It was all very Reader's Digest, and people loved it. I had no idea how much people would would go crazy about it. Right? We shot all of those videos in one day. We set it up upstairs. I had Mikey on, I had Mikey, and I had Chiu.
Yeah.
And we shot it in 4 hours. Wow. And they set up the lights, they set up everything, and they would go, okay, you're gonna do this one first. And they wanted each one to be 1 to 3 minutes. And I did it without break. Wow. I did all those without break. And I didn't rehearse it. I just like, all right, because this is what I do for a living. Explain Bong Sao. Okay, here, okay. All right, guys, we're gonna do it like this. Okay, I'm gonna, okay, fine. All right, good. All right, ready. All right, and then we would do the video, okay? Next one, what is Pak Sao? Oh, I'm gonna show this. Okay, you ready? Okay, let's go. Boom. 4 hours. 50-something videos, right? So that was that. And people still, that is actually, well, I'm actually very thankful for that because that's how Big Sean Madigan found me. Right? And so that's the reason why I did the Dudes of Kung Fu podcast, right? Because he was a big Jeet Kune Do guy, and I remember asking him, like, how'd you even find out? Like, how'd you find out about me? He's like, oh, I saw your Howcast, right? And Big Sean ended up being one of my closest friends, and like, of course, we all miss him a lot, but it was because of that. That's how he found me. Yeah,
Dope.
yeah.
Thank you. I still show.
Oh, did you have another question? You said you had two?
Oh,
or was that both? Okay, great. Yeah, awesome.
I still show my friends with Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, I watch it and cringe. It's like, oh God, all right. They're all right, but it wasn't my best. So,
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Do we have a final one?
We got Juliet, the great.
Here we go. All right, the future of City Wing Tsun right here.
Yes.
All right?
God help us all.
I can retire in 5 years.
My question is, a lot of people say that martial arts makes you more disciplined
Right.
and it creates discipline. Do you think that that's the case, or that it sort of just attracts that kind of personality, or some kind of combination of things?
That's a great question. Wow. Always hitting me with the hard ones at
She
the end.
always does that.
Yeah, I know. She does that, right?
Yeah, that's her
okay.
thing.
That's a great question, because sometimes we tend to fall in what's called the swimmer's body fallacy with that kind of stuff, right? And the swimmer's body fallacy is like, all right, you know how swimmers are built, right?
Oh,
they have
yeah.
that beautiful V taper that look
Me.
like this, right? Yeah, exactly like you, right?
Yeah.
And people go like, I want to have this awesome swimmer's
They're
physique.
built like me. I'm not built like a swimmer.
Exactly. All right. So they have this kind of tapered physique, and people go, okay, I want to have this body. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna swim to get this body. And
I don't swim.
it doesn't happen, right? They don't suddenly wake up looking like Michael Phelps, right? So because what you realize is what actually happens is that people who have a certain body type are predisposed to being good at swimming. All right? And not that swimming gives you the body of Michael Phelps. It's like people who naturally have that very long torso with that V taper and certain dimensions in their shoulders and stuff like that are naturally, they have the gifts to swim if that's what they want to do, right? And so you find this a lot when you look at high-level athletes in anything, right? If you look at high-level wrestlers, all right, you're not going to find a lot of differences in body type. All right. If you look at high performers in any field,
Basketball players.
gymnastics,
Usually-
basketball players, whatever, you're going to find that there's a certain type, all right, that tends to excel. There's obviously some variation within that, but generally, people who have a certain type of body,
Ballet dancers.
and certain type of proportions, have the chance to excel in different fields, right? And not that if you do that thing, you are going to become that. So that's called the swimmer's body fallacy, right? So it's sometimes difficult to tell whether people who excel in martial arts are disciplined because disciplined people excel in martial arts, or the martial arts made that person disciplined, all right? I've been teaching martial arts for 20 years, and I don't know the answer to that, because highly disciplined people who are self-motivated have the ability to go to a high level. But I've had students who came in and were very kind of middle of the road, not so sure. And slowly over time, they got more into it. And then they started to become a little bit more fanatical. And now they never leave my school. All right? So I've seen it. I've seen it go both ways. And as a matter of fact, sometimes my biggest disappointments in Wing Chun have been the most talented students who came in and had a lot of raw talent. I show them something and they pick it up immediately. And it's like, wow, like if I was that talented, I would be like 10 years ahead of where I am right now if I was as talented as this person, right? But sometimes that super physically gifted student doesn't stick around because maybe it's not challenging enough for them. You show them something, they pick it up and they're like, well, what else you got for me, right? Because there's no struggle, all right? They don't feel like they have to strive and push a little bit. Like we get better when we have to push against something a little bit going like this, right? When it's too easy and there's no challenge, sometimes it doesn't work for people, right? So I can't tell if it's disciplined people who excel or it's people who, you know, martial arts can make you more, for some people it makes them more disciplined, and for some people, for sure, they're already disciplined. I don't know. But I know that talented people are the biggest disappointments. All right? Now when I see someone that just picks up everything right away, I go, oh, shit, they're going to break my heart. All right? They're going to be gone in 6 months. All right? I had a student, a Filipino student, who was so unbelievably talented. I've never in my life seen anyone like this. I would show him something, and he was like a machine. He was a teenager when he started with me. I would show him something, and I'd be like, do it like this, and he would just do it the way I showed it. And then it would do the form. It's like, okay, put your hand like this, go like, he would just do it. And he would never make that mistake again. And he was so good, and he stuck around until primary level technician. And then he just was like, I'm gonna go do something else. right? And I remember when he got his primary level, I taught him the entire Biuji form in 45 minutes. Something which I'd never been, and normally I would just teach like maybe the first part or the opening to someone who's learning it for the first time. I would show him and he would get it, and I'd be like, okay, let me show you the next part. And he would get it fine. I'm like, all right, let me show you the next part. And in one private lesson, 45 minutes, he learned the entire Biuji form and knew the entire choreography with the details. All right,
and then
like,
this guy?
and then 2 months later, quit to I don't know, become a parkour expert or something like that. I have no idea.
Took up curling.
Huh? To take up curling, yeah. All right. So anyway, any final one? Any final thoughts?
Do I know that student? Have I trained with him before?
I don't know. I'll tell you after the podcast what his name is. I'm not going to put him on blast through the podcast. Right? Not that he watches anyway. Yeah, all right. So any other questions?
Curling.
All right. Final one.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I had 2 questions
You
unrelated.
These two-parter questions. All right,
No,
you
not
guys,
two-parter,
all
just 2 questions.
2 questions. All right.
With my limited knowledge as far as other styles are concerned, the theory of operation of Wing Chun seems to be totally unique from everything else. Are you aware of any other styles similar to Wing Chun in operation?
You mean that have like an operating system, a plan of attack?
Yes.
They all do. They're just different. And it's also a matter of whether the teacher teaches it that way. Some martial art teachers teach a style as a collection of techniques, and others teach it as a strategy. So that depends on the instructor. I have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu friends who are very systematic about how they approach teaching Jiu-Jitsu and applying Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. And I have some that just teach random cool techniques for fun. Okay. All right? So that depends on the instructor. But all martial arts have that strategy. It's just a matter, or have a strategy, have a operating system. It's just a matter of whether the instructor teaches it that way.
Okay. My other question is, with all the episodes of the Kung Fu Genius and the various movies that have been talked about, no one's talked about my favorite Sammo Hung one from my teenage years. The movie started in was The Victim.
The Victim?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that movie? Or am I some sort of Chinese martial arts Luddite?
No, so I have not seen The Victim in a very long time. Victim's a great...
to say you've never seen it.
No, of course I've seen... Hey, do you even know who I am?
Wow.
All right?
Take it easy.
No, but for some mid-70s, what's that mid-70s? It might be a mid-70s Samuel, but it's been a long time. And because when I started watching Kung Fu movies, I watched them all on VHS. And I got some of them later when they were on DVD. But if they've not been like reprinted on DVD or there's not a new awesome version of it, I may not have rewatched it. I think I need to rewatch The Victim. All right, it's been a bit. All right.
Yes.
But a lot of those older Sammo Hung films, Iron Fisted Monk, like those are all movies that like I've seen all of those, but I've seen so many of them. You know, the plots kind of blend together because let's be honest, most of the plots of them are not very complex and not very different. So yeah, I think I need to rewatch The Victim. And that's all I got to say about that. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Kung Fu Genius. As always, don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the Kung Fu Genius, hit that bell for notifications, and if you have any questions for me to answer on a future episode, put them in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.
Word is I'm a Kung Fu genius. Technique speaks for me, not lineage. Forget Jet Li, cause I'm the one. Many call me seafood, but to you I'm sea gung. And I produce masters. You surpassed us. Your Kung Fu stiffer than corpse and caskets. City Wing Tsun is the house I built. Violate the gate and your blood gets spilt. Alex Richter, always the victor.
Andrew? No, this is me talking to a future you.
KFG has been brought to you live from a studio audience.
All right, man, it's too close. This is weird. Should I just look at you like this?
No, that's even weirder.
Give me a moment. All right, you can edit all this out. Just give me a moment.
We need to get Wu-Tang in the 25th anniversary.
That would be awesome. At least get Rizzo. Yeah, it might be hard to get ODB. Okay. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. All right, so now you guys got to watch how this guy does an intro. So first move out so I can do the outro, all right?
Wow.
Watch the difference in professionalism. Are you going to be one take Jake or a two take Tom? All right? Or an 80 take Ed, all right? Okay.
Lots of gems, 0 Dreison.
0 Dreison. That's
They're gonna leave.
No, they will stick around.
Lots of gems, lots of no Dreison, and lots of animals. Damn! Wait!
Lots of animals drinking wine and doing cocaine.
All right.
Lots of watching animals.
Not doing animals, watching cocaine. Whatever you do, don't say that. Not lots of doing animals, watching cocaine.
All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all sorts of hot nonsense from the live studio audience at City Wing Tsun. All right, peeps.
Sorry, I just pressed the sad trombone, but you wouldn't know. Yeah, no, that.
Lots of gems, lots of no Dreison, lots of watching animals drinking wine and not having sex, doing each other. All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all sorts of hot nonsense from a live studio audience at City Wing Tsun. Lots of gems. I said lots of gems, and then you turn your head like.
Oh, I turned my head.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah, totally.
Dre,
Yeah.
how do you eat a hard drive?
How do you eat a hard drive, Dre?
Do you all know this joke? I don't know it.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all sorts of hot nonsense from YouTube. That's not what we're doing. 16 takes.